Welcome to all. Today, I would like to discuss on qualitative research. It's one of the most important topic for the researchers, learners, especially different discipline, and also it's important for different stakeholders who are working in government and non-government organizations. Research is most important factor for human civilization as it explores different new ideas and thoughts. It also highlights different kinds of research findings that resolve human problems and sufferings. However, in previous time we have already discussed so many issues, especially national and international politics. Today we will focus on research. What is research? The researcher they gave lot of definitions and ideas regarding research. According to Western Sydney University, we get an idea. The Department of Education defines the research. Research is defined as the creation of new knowledge and or the use of existing knowledge in a new and creative way so as to generate new concepts, methodologies, and understanding. This could include synthesis analysis of previous research to the extent that it leads to new and creative outcomes. As I have already mentioned, basically, if we review different definitions of research, then we can get main ideas of research. Research is a creation of knowledge. Actually, if we ask some questions in a particular area, then we get an idea of research. Actually, according to me, research is a question that clarifies the answer of that question. And there are so many researchers and scientists they clarifies the research. Today, as I have mentioned, we will discuss qualitative research, and on the basis of our contents, we will highlight different issues of qualitative research. As you know, qualitative research there are so many methodologies of research. First of all, one is qualitative and another is quantitative. Today we'll emphasize on qualitative research. Why should we use qualitative research? For example, Albert Einstein, one of the most renowned scientists of the world, he says, not everything that can be counted counts, not everything that counts can be counted. Here, it means we can't expose everything on the basis of in words. Sometimes we need to explore some ideas in numerical values. Therefore, we need to use qualitative and quantitative research. Definition of qualitative research. First of all, I would like to share some definitions of qualitative research. For example, C.R. Kothari, he says in 1985, qualitative research is concerned with the qualitative phenomena followed by quality or kind. Actually, which is totally contrary to the numerical values, that is qualitative research. It's a qualitative phenomena. Later definition, qualitative research design is a research method extensively used by the researcher studying human behavior, opinions, themes, and motivations. Here, most important characteristics of this definition, qualitative research basically highlight human beings' behavior, their gesture, their opinions, suggestions, themes, and intentions. On the other hand, if we see qualitative research is also a descriptive information about qualities and characteristics gathered in narrative form. The basic differences of qualitative and quantitative research, if we see, then we can understand the main characteristics of qualitative research and quantitative research. Qualitative research emphasizes on culturally representative. On the other hand, quantitative research is individually representative. Qualitative research, another characteristics is expert framework. On the other hand, quantitative research is probabilistic framework. Qualitative research, analytical generalization. On the contrary, quantitative research focus on it focuses on statistical generalization. Qualitative method focuses on with various description. On the other hand, quantitative research focuses on variation, central tendency, and statistical representation. Actually, qualitative and quantitative research we can understand on the basis of numerical values and descriptive analysis. Design of qualitative research. There are some design of qualitative research, pardon. The design of qualitative research is content analysis, phenology, ground theory, ethnography, historical method, and case studies. First of all, we'd like to describe content analysis. Content analysis consists of analyzing the contents of documentary materials, for example, books, magazine, newspapers, and the contents of all others. Actually, content analysis review the published works, the verbal material which can be either spoken or printed. Content analysis is a research tool that used to determine the presence of certain words or concept within text or sets of texts. If we go any library, then we see there are multiple published works are preserved on library. Library and other platform is another way to collect data and information of content analysis. Case studies. Now we'll discuss the case studies. The term case studies usually refers to fairly intensive examinations of a single unit, such a person, a small group of people, or indeed a single organizations. Another definition of case studies is case studies are analysis of person, events, decisions, periods, projects, policies, institutions, and other systems that are studied holistically by one or more methods. Here, they mean that actually case studies focus on policies and institutions and systematic way that studies historical by one or more methods. It analyzes the persons and events and certain decisions for certain period. Case studies involves in an in-depth examinations of a single person or few people. Before going to later section, I would say case studies, for example, if we study a person or events, then a researcher need to highlight the whole history for different period of time so that a person can understand the whole thing from case studies. Now I am going to discuss on historical method. Historical method is the means by which researchers deal with latent meaning of history. Actually, it's a previous events. Historical method is a mean to examine the matter of various social problems by discovering the past trends, facts, events, and occurrences, and to predict the possible trends in that particular lines. The definition has been described by the lady in 1980. Historical research depends upon data, two kinds of data. For example, primary sources that deals with direct observation and secondary sources that deals with observer of others. Ethnography is one of the most important parts of anthropology and human behavior of certain ethnic groups or particular groups of people who are living in a certain area, especially in hilly area or in a certain place where they are different from mainstream people or mainland people. So, ethnography is a branch of anthropology that provides scientific description of individual human societies. Ethnography field work usually means living with and living like those who are studied. Here, the definition is to explore some interesting and designated things from a certain group by spending time with them. For example, if a researcher they can understand the ethnical issues of ethnic group, then they need to spend sometimes years or decades with the ethnic group or minority group in hilly or some other areas so that they can understand their behavior, food habits, living, and other issues. Fieldwork demands the full time involvement of a researcher over a lengthy period of time, typically unspecified. As I have already mentioned, here you see before going to conduct a ethnography study, a researcher need to take some pilot test of some particular areas of a population. For example, if a researcher will conduct research on ethnic group, then he or she must be spend time with the ethnic group, because if you spend with them, then you can understand their languages, you can understand their traditional dresses, you can understand their food habits. Therefore, you can write and you can go ahead with your objectives and methods. And finally, you can conclude and you can analyze the research findings. Next, cultural parameter of ethnography. There are some parameters and cultural parameters of ethnography. First of all, it includes geographical area, later lifestyle, shared experience, indigenous people or tribal people or minority people, and religion. Ground theory is another component of qualitative research. Grounded theory research follows a systematic yet flexible process that collect data, code the data, make connections, and see what theory or theories are generated or are built from the data. The main feature of grounded theory research is the development of new theory through collection and analysis of data about a phenomenon. Phenomenology. Phenomenology may be events, situations, experiences, or concept. It's a way of describing something that exists as an integral part of the world in which we are living. It explores the gap of our understanding. The phenomenological research can begin in a systematic way with full confidence. Qualitative coding and qual coding. It's one of the most important part of qualitative research. Some people call it qual coding. We can clarify and differentiate into four sections: tag, subtopic, topic, and sentiments. Therefore, this qualitative research is one of the most important components of research that some people they don't know qualitative research, quantitative research, and they don't know statistical packages and statistical issues and some other numerical understanding. Therefore, the person who are not able to conduct a research on the basis of quantitative research or quantitative methodology, in that case, we can conduct a research on qualitative research. And qualitative research, most of the researcher and most of the research have been conducted on the basis of qualitative research. As we are talking, we are expressing our views and ideas in different texts and words. And sometimes we can explore and express our ideas in numerical values. In that case, we can use qualitative research. But if we don't use numerical values, then we can expose our ideas, express our ideas on the basis of qualitative research. Therefore, a researcher can conduct some research on the basis of qualitative research by following different kinds of qualitative research. And if we don't able to analyze our data and information through qualitative, then we can use quantitative approach. I mean statistical data and information or numerical values. So if we sum up our session, then we can see qualitative research is a way in which we can clarify our ideas and data in words, in events. On the other hand, if we if we analyze other issues on the basis of numerical values, then we can use quantitative research method. Therefore, I would like to request to all to study on research methodology, and research proposal. Because if we understand these kinds of theoretical knowledge, then it's easy for us to conduct our research easily. Thank you all. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you again.